How do you price your items? Good morning, everyone. My name is Tim. I'm a full-time eBayer out of Northwest Montana, and on this channel, we pack our orders live daily for everyone to see exactly what we're picking up. Doing about over $200,000 a year in sales on eBay, between garage sales, estate sales, thrift stores, you name it, we are buying and selling. And so we're going to do some live packs today. And then also, we talk about a topic within the reselling world. Maybe try to keep a theme while I ramble to the camera about whatever I'm talking about, whether it's the items that we have or the theme. And today's theme is, how are you pricing your items? I get this question sometimes from people even that maybe don't even know anything about reselling, anything about eBay. They're like, well, how do you even figure out a price? How are you going to price this thing? And there is definitely some strategy to it. We'll talk about the basics. We'll talk about maybe the more advanced things for those who have been in this game a while and know exactly what they're doing too. Because I'd like to hear from some of them, because I still don't know if I know what I'm doing. Here we go. So if we get some people in the chat too, we'll talk about whatever the chat wants to talk about today. We got some, what do we got, $700 or so of sales? Let me see my ticker. Oh, we just crossed the 80K for the year too. That's really nice. So we've done about $80,000 of sales this year. And I'm going to wait for the ticker because I really want to know. I forget how many orders we even have going up today. What does it say? We got today 12. I'm guessing 12. 14. Yeah, we usually average 12 orders a day. So we have 14 orders going out for a little over $600. So that's pretty good. First one up is Judas Priest, Pantera, Van Halen. So yeah, we just had AI pick out the titles. These I could have made a lot more money on, and definitely got bought by another reseller within a few minutes. So priced it low to let it go, because my target was someone who wants to resell and do the work. To find a collector that wanted this eclectic of a lot is going to be tough. They're going to get, I don't know, $5-10 a piece. They're going to 3-4x their money. I just didn't want to have to go through the pain of doing each of these individually. For the lower dollar, still good CDs. So we lotted them up and got a reseller to buy them. So that's this first order. Paid a quarter a piece at an estate for these. I was shocked when they said a quarter a piece, and I cherry picked anything out that's going to sell for, I don't know, $15 or more. And these just went in a lot. If I could go back, I might actually say, if I could go back in time, hey, why don't we do an auction on these? That might have been actually the better choice, because I could have let the media people fight over it for how much they wanted to bid the work. I do that with video games all the time. But for CDs and DVDs, I don't do that as much. So how did I end up pricing them? Well, for me on this one, I priced it because I said, okay, we got 40 of them. I'm figuring $2 a piece. I paid a quarter a piece. We're going to do pretty good on those returns. We're going to crush around the edge here. Give me a second. I want to make sure that they make it there, but I don't want to spend an hour and a half making these perfect as I pack these. So I figured we'll do pretty good on the returns. If we, are in these less than 20 bucks, going into 90s, not bad. And I know they'll move fast. So I was okay pricing them where I did, to intentionally try to find a reseller who's going to do the work. Because I didn't want to do the work. This is not what I like to do. I like dealing in higher dollar stuff usually than the $5 CDs. Although with the AI listing, could have made the argument that I could have done the work here. All right. Move these along. So, pricing, speaking of how you price things, we'll start with the basics. In case anybody is new in the world, I'll tell you how I like to price things. The first thing you need to know on the eBay machine is to find a comp for the item. That means comparable, like what is it actually selling for? What have other people sold this thing for? And you can kind of copy that price and do it on your own. And so you see a lot of people, if they're printing the signs off at the garage sales, let's get this in there, right? You've all been to a garage sale or an estate sale. Maybe they print the sign off that says, this goes for $500 on eBay. Well, usually it's just a listing of the item. It's not the actual sold. And so I've shown many people, even resellers, I've had to show this, some people that are just starting out. You go to the eBay app, you search for that item, and you click on that little button that says sold. I get that going there. We're going to do 2 more wraps of this just to make sure it's good to go. So again, we're starting very basic. So you search the item, find something like the item that you got. You click the sold button on the side. You can see the little green number tells you how much has this item actually sold for. And it shows you data from the last 90 days of sales. We got 12 pounds on this guy, 12 by 10 by 8. And I'll bump them up to ground advantage just to ensure it. Why not? It's only like 50. And once you can collect the data of like, okay, this is sold in the last 90 days for $20, $40, $15, $30, whatever. Got to check your condition against those and pick a good price of where you think it's going to go based on your condition and the other items that have actually sold. And so that's what we mean when we say we run comps on it. We find comparable solds and make a decision for what you want to do based on those solds. So for something like this, I put in, Judas Priest, Pantera. I put, Hard Rock Alternative, and I said, let's look at solds. Okay, when they go in lots, about how much do they get per dollar on the lots? Okay, and we'd already gone through and scanned everything, so we know there's no bangers that are like worth $100 or something like that. And we said, okay, well, let's just go ahead and lot it up at about $2 a piece because that's about where they're getting. And it went pretty quick. So we priced it right to get it out of there. I could have priced it higher and I had to wait a little bit longer. I could have priced it lower and gotten taken, but priced it right where the market wanted it. This is We Were Wasps, 423, just another book from that Alaska estate. And we're going to continue to see a lot of them. I'm almost done. I'm so close with processing these. Oh, let's see. And I'm enjoying my new inventory system. I actually started cataloging these a little bit differently. Trying to utilize my entire space rather than always having to dig for everything. I say it's working out good, and then, oh, there it is. It didn't have a spine. This one doesn't have it. So my system relies on me being able to read the spines, but this one has no text on the spine. And my new shelf is working out pretty good. I got about half of that shelf filled up at this. Bangers, morning pricers. Yeah, bangers, the good ones. What they call them. Especially in the UK. I think in Australia too. We have our Australian viewers. Hey, Les T, good to see you. All right, we got some people coming into chat now. Good to know y'all are here. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for throwing a message. Now, in this lot, the lot we just shipped, pricers, it was 25 cents a piece, and we just went through and I literally was scanning anything that pinged for over $1 just got thrown in. There was like 4 of them that I just listed that are over $10, so it wasn't anything crazy. Realized yesterday I'm a much better reseller than golfer. That's right. Well, Pricer, yeah, you said you were going golfing yesterday. Hopefully you had some fun at least. Got outside. All right, let's see. 12 by 12 by 1. I haven't hit a golf ball in forever. I was telling you, I took that college class, and that was it. But I just haven't had an opportunity to get out there. All I know about golf is you want to hit it straight. It's better to hit it straight than it is to hit it far, because if you get off and you hit it far, you're done for. Anyway, We Were Wasps. A nice little $20 sale. And moving on to some boots. So I've not listed boots in forever, but we got a sale coming through. $60 on the Field Industry ones. Aren't too bad. Priced it, I think, at $90 and took a $60 offer. I'm very happy to take offers at that. About 30% off is fine with me. I'd like to see things moving. 4, 11, and 6. So the question with pricing is always, where do you price it high and wait? Do you like to go fast nickel, slow dime? That's usually what people talk about with this. And then you saw, I think someone even here, maybe it was even you pricers, I forget, but someone once said, you know, eBay's not looking for the best price, they're looking for the right price. And sometimes that can be true. You know, you have two items side by side. Someone looks at your item for 30 bucks and they look at the competition's for $21 and they're like, well, the $30 one must be better. You know, sometimes there is a little bit of pricing psychology in there. I don't like to play the game of pricing psychology. I think people are just looking for a deal and they're going to go for the cheaper product. But sometimes there is something to be said about pricing your item up a little bit because you don't want to present it as something's wrong with the item because you're pricing it a little bit too low. All right, we're going to get these in here. Throwing these in the box. Whenever I'm looking at the vintage boot, the mock toe is always good. These guys have that mock toe, the oil resistance on the sole, and just the real nice stitching. When it's an actual stitched sole versus a glued on sole, and it's something worth looking at. There's a lot of the new boots, a lot of the ones, the mass-produced stuff, now made to have fake stitching, but they just glue the soles on, and that's not what anybody's looking for. Field and Stream, 10.5B, 10, I just had to make sure are the right ones. Wow. All right. Not leaving yet, but if I find a 10 o'clock Eastern time golf podcast, I might need to switch. I'm glad there's not there's no golf podcast. Don't go searching anywhere else, pricers. We love having you here. My loyal fan from day one. And I think we buy and sell pretty much in the same fashion. Correct, I'm a 7.5 cents guy. Yeah, I like pricing lower. When I price things, I'm usually looking at the market as a whole. And then I honestly go like 5-10% cheaper. Because I like to move things faster than to try to wait for all the money. And I kind of do the same thing on Amazon too. That's a whole different ballgame if you're talking about Amazon pricing strategy. In the Amazon world, some guys will load their store up and then they just wait for it to go out of stock and they end up getting 50% plus more because of that. But Amazon's also kind of changed the rules lately where they're not letting you store stuff for more than a year, I think. Like, I'd have to look that up, but I moved my stuff fast. It didn't really bother me anyway. I should check back into the Amazon world. I'm not really, I'm honestly, with Amazon anymore, I don't know what I'm doing. I literally just scan things. It tells me I'm going to make money, and so I put it in a box and send it to Amazon, and then they send me checks. Like, I don't quite understand all of Amazon's systems right now. But I do know when I'm pricing for Amazon, I price it on the low end to make sure it moves fast because they have some storage fees associated with them. All right, 1st Airborne Battle Group, 503D Infantry at Fort Bragg. Just a cool military book. The price, the comps for this one were in that $20 to $30 range. We got right where we wanted to get. 1st Battle Group. Guy, $429 it was listed. I'm always looking for these military yearbook type of things. So, sell a ton of these. Here. And they, quite frankly, they slip through a lot because a lot of people don't pick them up because they look like yearbooks, and yearbooks are usually bad buys, although there's some yearbooks that can do good. Pickle Fox, good to have you here. Haven't seen you in a while. In more than just the not the podcast, in more than just this stream. I guess we could call it a podcast. I have a lot of people that treat this as a podcast. Got a lot of consistent people now that are tuning in on the replays. So good to see you, Pickle Fox. Hope things are good for you. Sales are good. Hope you're cleaning out all that inventory you talked about cleaning out, and you're getting caught up on your listings, because I know that's a pain It's always the eternal struggle. This is a train that never ends. 12 by 10 by 1 and 2 pounds. Buy that label. And the reason I actually made pricing the topic today or something to ramble about while we're not talking to chat is I'm pricing right now the last of this huge book haul. And so far, everything's had comps, and I've been able to put it in nice price buckets. I've been able to price it really decently and just have AI, here's all the $60 books, here's all the $40 books, here's all the $8, and we just go in one fashion. I'm looking over here at my stack because I've literally got, I have like piles now, $100, and I write made up price, $200 made up price, $400 made up price, because I'm making prices up because there's literally no comps, which can be either amazing or terrible. Anyone else have a significant, okay, the Pickle Fox, anyone else have a significant increase in returns over the last few days? Great sales, but a lot of returns for doesn't fit. Ooh. And especially that can hurt if you have free returns, because if it doesn't fit, then you're paying it both ways. Yes, I'm experimenting with changing my sourcing days. Fair enough. Fair enough, yeah. I don't think, personally, I have. I mean, the chat can chime in if anybody else has had a increase in returns over the last few days. I have not had an increase in returns. I've had a lot of returns, but we've also been getting sales, so they kind of go hand in hand. But not for doesn't fit. Unfortunately, I've been getting more INADs than I usually get. I think it's because of I do paid shipping on the returns. Okay, no, they pay for the returns, so that's not as bad. If it's for doesn't fit, like, it's annoying, but at least you're not losing out. I've been having paid returns and been getting a lot more returns in the last three to 6 months for like item not as described, or it's not quite right, or this, that, or the other, or damaged in shipping or whatever. For my belief is people are trying to avoid paying that return shipping. So I think if it continues, I'm probably going to change to free shipping just to keep my metrics in check. But no, I've not had an increase in returns. That stinks, though. I'm sorry that you're going through that. The new analytical Bible. I'm worried to send this one out. I have a slight apprehension to send this one out because I priced it at about half of market. So speaking of pricing, I priced it at half of market and I did outline it very clearly that it's got moisture, wear, and damage in the pages, but the pages are clean and readable. Like, they just have a nice wave to that edge, and you can tell that, there's this crispness. Hear that? That, like, it's definitely had moisture wear on it before. But this person is getting a screaming deal on something with unmarked pages. I just hope that, really hope your buyers are actually reading what's going on. And the reason they get a screaming deal is, of course, because of the condition. So I factor condition in a lot in what I sell in the pricing. And if you don't believe condition affects price too much, you should look at Pokemon cards. It's insane. The Pokemon card market is insane. Pricer says, nope, he's not had returns lately, but not doing a lot of clothing. Yeah, I know Fickle Fox, I know, does a lot of shoes. That's her main deal. Actually, this is the first time ever when they evaluated in April that I had, and this is why I'm looking at changing my strategy for offering those returns to help with my metrics. Which it's also just kind of sad that I have to do that, because people are gonna play the system, and I don't have time to fight every single one, even if I could. I know eBay's gonna have your back. It's just it's gonna be better for me to change my strategy. But anyway, back in April, for the first time, like, I was rated below my peers, like, very high rate of item not as described, and I truly believe, and that's like for the first time in years of doing this, and I truly believe it's because the things have just been ridiculous. Like, it looked at me funny. You know what I mean? Like, it's silly stuff I could be fighting. I'm just choosing not to because my time is more valuable. Pricers, congratulations. He says that he just switched to free returns this morning and now is on 1 day and free returns, and let us know how it goes. Please let me know how it goes, especially the scanning portion. that's one of the things that keeps me back from trying to do the one day is while I do, like, obviously I ship every day and I make it to the post office every day, but getting them to scan is a whole nother beast, and I have enough. I'm not waiting in line. So I got good guys working at the post office, but I can't guarantee that they're always going to get scanned. And I think if I had a good consistent home pickup going on, maybe I could do that. I also like the freedom of having like a long weekend or something, if I ever need that. Oh, let's chat about these. We got the Mirage bookshelf speakers. These are tested working. They have been listed for a full year. So I probably wouldn't pick these up even at the $10 rate, just because of the time and energy and shipping risk that these are going to take. This is going to be a longer pack here, just to get these right. But Mirage is a good brand. Don't mind sending these out. Polk, Clisp. What's the other one? Polk Audio, Boston Acoustics. Tons of good brands out there for speakers. We're gonna want a 16-inch box for sure. Maybe going a little bit more, and we'll wrap those up good. So let's get this going here. Especially now that I don't have an inventory problem as much as I used to. I used to really like fight tooth and nail for every piece of inventory I had. But now that I'm pulling in way more than I can deal with, I would probably skip on something like this just because it's a pain to ship out. I do enjoy it. I do like the old vintage audio stuff. Some of it can be pretty good, but you know, spending this much time to make what's going to be probably 30 bucks in the end, I don't know. I have better opportunities for my time anymore, I think. But at one time, this is about all I did. There was, when I was first starting, it was really anything with a barcode, anything with a model number, just looking up, because as you're pricing things, anything with a barcode, anything with a model number is super easy to find comps for. So, you know, these speakers, you just do a quick search for, what is it, the i90S, what is it called? It's the M90i, and all of a sudden, you know exactly where you need to price that item. There's no ambiguity. Whereas like this random book about Alaska that has never seen the light of day in years, it came from some random university's library. It may be an original, it may not be. It doesn't really have any sold comps. You just kind of got to make it up and know as you go. So, you know, ephemera, or even clothing, you know, clothing and shoes, because the condition's going to matter, the size is going to matter, the style code's going to matter, all that kind of stuff. You know, there's usually not like a one-to-one, M90i. I can't just search like M90i for the clothing unless, you know, some brands give you like a certain style. You're doing a lot more legwork to try to figure the prices out on something like that than something like this. All right, we got it in 2 bubbles. And then we're going to get some crush all the way around. Oh my goodness, we got some chat going on. Should get a top seller seal on my listings. Yep, that little top badge will be really good for you. Kent Daigle, hey, good to have you, Kent. I don't know if we've ever seen you in chat before, but glad to have you here. And if they want to return it for free, they'll lie and get it for free anyway, so might as well get credit. That's what pricers, I'm right with you. If I truly, like, if I could guarantee the one-day handling, because if my lifestyle could actually afford that, it can't right now, then I would totally be doing it. I would be doing 1 day with free returns just to get that 10% off your fees, and then also to get the boost in the search. I think it's totally worth it to get top rated plus. Now, some categories I might argue it's not worth it. Like, I wouldn't do this with free returns. Like these, I would never do that. Because you know, the shipping on these is going to be about 30, 40 bucks, and I'm selling it for 50, 60. It doesn't make sense. Like, I'm just never going to take a return anyway. I'm just going to refund the person. So, hey, what's going on? We tried it, quickly switched back, says Kent. Maybe it's not for everybody. It probably depends on what you sell. And I don't know, A lot of people I talk to say it is worth it for them in their business. A lot of the people, even in high return categories, because that 10% and the bump is gonna, is gonna even out over time. But I think it's, for someone who sells like typewriters or big speakers or, furniture, whatever, like then the free return starts really not making sense. Because I mean, let's be honest, if I had free returns on these and someone opens a return, I am not going to accept the return because it's going to cost me more money. And I think that buyers know that too. And so all of a sudden, it turns into a game. At least that's my conspiracy theory. All right, we're going to crush the bottom. We're going to crush all the way around these. Like I said, this is just quite a long, involved pack for not a ton of money. It's got to go out. They've been sitting a whole year. Beautiful. All right. We got crush on the bottom. We got bubble on each one. We're going to put them in here. We're going to cut the box down. We're going to crush on the sides and on the top, and they should be good to go. I don't double box these. They're not, it's not going to be worth my time to double box these. I'll float porcelain, I'll float really breakable stuff, but these boxes usually do pretty good. Only ever had trouble, actually I've never had trouble with speakers. I've had trouble with receivers, but never had trouble with speakers before. I do the same kind of strategy for my receivers when I sell the big audio receivers, which is less and less and less these days as I expand into books, and that kind of stuff. All right, Monique, this is for you over in Australia. She loves our box resizer. Now, she just asked one day what a box resizer was. Maybe she's bought one by now. My best tool in the arsenal, that box resizer. Saved me thousands of dollars. And the pain of never having to buy the exact right size boxes. Fold these all over. Nice corner on all of these. Good to go. Another thing with pricing, I guess, is auctions, and how often do you run auctions in your store? For me, it's very, very rare. There's really two situations I'll ever run an auction in. I'll get to those in a second. I take that back. 3 situations I would ever run an auction in. But I don't want to talk while I'm sprinkling this all up. All right, we're almost done. Gotta love these long packs. Beautiful. And one more just to be sure. I don't want those things moving at all in there. I also don't want to crush the screens, so playing a little dangerous game, trying to keep it taut, but also not crush the screens on the top. All right. Now we tape it to no end because I use cheap tape. And so I'm going to really tape the heck out of this guy. I'm not afraid of $300 to $500 in refunded shipping to make it what to make what I make on eBay for a year. 100%. Yeah. You're getting a lot of returns. It means you're getting a lot of sales. So that's the way I like to look at it. It hurts a lot. You got to remind yourself You're getting a lot of sales. As long as their percentage isn't actually going up by a crazy amount, then you might need to, reevaluate. All right, one more for good measure on the side. I like to tape the seam. And we're done there. So 17 by 17 and by 13. And we're at 20-pound rate. Oh. And the grand total is $35 to ship that thing. We're going to go FedEx home delivery, which is an equivalent service. Actually saves us some money, even though they chose UPS. I will change to an equivalent service when it saves $14 like that. Yeah, we're going to save $14 on this. And then I know this is controversial, but I put a fragile sticker on it. I want them to kick it around even more in the shipping. No, I put a fragile sticker on it because it doesn't matter. For the post office, they're not going to care, but the customers will care, and they do reach out to me, say thank you for putting that on there. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, we were talking about auctions, or I was about to talk about auctions. I don't run auctions a lot anymore. I run them really in 3 situations. One of which could have been this. So back when, this is the first one we packed, I could have ran this on an auction and probably should have ran it to let the media people fight over it. And, this was just a job lot for somebody, and I could have probably got more money over there. So whenever it's a lot that's going to be fought over and someone's going to break up, maybe like a job lot, Legos, I do a lot of the auctions for that. I'll do an auction. Whenever I don't know how to price something because there's like no comps and it's very obscure, I'll do an auction starting at the lowest price that I am willing to take. And then the final time I'll use an auction is when I don't know what the heck I'm looking at and I don't want to be wrong. And so I throw it on an auction and hope someone else knows what's going on. Let's see, for you. If you look at individually, it hurts, but I'm in the long game for this. Yes, you're not in business for one day. We're in business for a very long time, hopefully. Let's see. The earliest history of Alaska, and this was on 430A. What's great now is I'm getting all these repeat buyers that are coming in. Oh, there we go. And they know I'm listing all these books, so we're getting a lot out to the same people. I think this is another repeat buyer. And the goal for today, not today, maybe tomorrow. I got a lot to do. The goal is by the end of the week, I want these Alaska books done so I can actually move on to getting my shoes and boots processed and other things that have been coming into the shop. But pricing these last ones is kind of fun because I have some sitting in a pile that I'm going to list for $400 a piece. Just made up prices. They've never sold. We'll see what happens with them. I'll be happy, like, if I get $50 out of them, great. If I get 400, great. I don't know where to put them. And an auction's not the right for those because I don't have quite the audience. I'm not sitting at an Alaskan auction house where someone might get in a bidding war. Although I have got a lot of traction from people at this point, maybe an auction would be okay. 14 by 14 by 1, and we're at 3. And it doesn't matter because it's media mail, which is fantastic because even going to Alaska, the media mail is still cheap. All right. Usually for a $20 game like this, I am not going to box it up, but this one I will because this is Terminator: Rise of the Machines, brand new sealed. So the game market is a weird market, and someone is not buying this to play it. I can almost guarantee that someone is not buying this game to play it. They're buying this to say they have a sealed game, they have a collection, they might even grade it, I don't know. It's not like it's a super rare or expensive game, but anytime there's a sealed game from this era, you're going to want to throw it in a box, because this person is probably some kind of collector that just wanted a sealed copy of this. And like we were talking about earlier, condition matters, especially in the collectibles, where condition can mean the difference of thousands of dollars for some items. Like you got that first edition Charizard. It could be $10,000. It could be a few $100s. It could be $500,000, you know. Just depends on your condition. It's always a fun one to try to explain to people. I've had to explain to many people at yard sales and things. I'm trying to buy their collection. Like, I saw this for $200,000 it sold. And I'm like, well, yes, that was a sealed copy that was graded and has some kind of weird variant. Yours is like 50. All right, individually. So we got some stuff going on in the chat. Forgive me if you already talked about this, but thoughts on GameStop acquiring eBay. I didn't talk about this. You know, every single reselling channel out there talked about it. I didn't actually make a mention. Maybe I should make a mention. So my thoughts on eBay or GameStop trying to acquire eBay is LOL. I don't. It doesn't make sense. And if you watch, it was a CNN interview or a CNBC interview or something of Cohen, the CEO. Who, this is all like meme stock stuff, guys. Like if you followed any of the stuff that went on with GameStop, the way GameStop came out of the depths was through just this crazy meme stock trading frenzy. And they actually turned a profit, I believe, last year. GameStop, for the first time in a long time, I think, actually turned a profit. And this guy, Ryan Cohen, I believe it is, he is the CEO of Chewy. He's also the CEO of GameStop. And Chewy is, it's a huge, successful company. Like, you know, so we can't throw shade and say this guy doesn't know what he's doing. But when you look at the financials and you look at and say, like, okay, and again, I'm not a financial expert. I'm not even like I don't consider myself an eBay guru or anything. Like, I'm just a guy selling stuff in my garage. But from what I understand is GameStop is valued at less than 10 billion. eBay is valued at what, over 50 billion. It doesn't make sense. And I guess from my layman understanding of it is they would be, you know, using debt and stock to kind of get up to that price. But if you watch that interview, they're just like they're like asking Cohen, and he's the dodging and dodging and dodging, and he's like, but the numbers don't math. Like, even if with your highest debt and your highest stock offerings, like, you can only get up to 40-some billion. So how are you going to close the gap to make the offer realistic? And like, let's be honest, if the offer was realistic, he was offering $125 a share. He was offering $125 a share for the company. And the company is trading, I think, at like 105 right now. So like, if truly they could get to that 125 and the market, like, people actually thought it was going to happen, the price would be at 125 right now. Like, that's the way the market works, is you know, the gap's going to close. But it's not, you know, so people don't have a lot of faith in this going forward. So I'm going to read on. Pricer says, do you do anything other than eBay for your comps, Google, Facebook, or Amazon? I use only eBay, and then I will also comp. Like, if there's no eBay comps, I'll give it a Google and see. But pretty much Terapeak on eBay is good enough for me. It'd be a year at least for the purchase to go through. Plus, it's just an offer. Okay. Like, that being said, I like the more aggressive CEO at GameStop. Yeah, I don't know. It's out of my wheelhouse for that kind of thing. 430.26. The gold placers of Montana. You know, I just know that lately, you know, eBay's been doing some good moves. You've been seeing a lot of good advertising. The company's been doing fine. The stock's been rebounding, doing all right. It's acquired, you know, Depop and TCG, and so they're making good moves and good acquisitions, and you know, they're strong in the market, and we're seeing secondhand explode. And so I don't know, it makes sense that GameStop wants to go after it. I just don't understand the logistics. Like, I'm I don't know. I don't quite understand the logistics of how such a small company can try to acquire such a large company. All right, Golden Placers of Montana. I sold this same book for 12 bucks or something a few days ago, and I said, all right, we got another copy in the lot. Let's throw it up for 18. And lo and behold, we got 18 bucks out of it. So happy to see this one go. Another one from the storage unit we're working through. But I think one thing's for sure, though, if they do get acquired, I think it means fees go up, personally. If they get acquired, I mean, they're going to get it, excuse me, they're going to want to get their money back quick. And so I'm pretty sure that's going to fall on the sellers on the platform. So it does make me a little apprehensive. I just don't see it happening, the GameStop acquisition. And I've not really dug into it. So if anybody knows more than me and is dug into this thing, feel free to share in the chat. Feel free to share. All right. Moving on. Got my mouse. Inverters. You lost me, pricers. We got, I think this one's a two book order. Let me pull up another tab. Go. I gotta double check and see. I think this is a 2 book order, so I gotta put them together. I always like to make sure that the address is the same, because I've had one buyer before have me send things to 2 different addresses. And this is a repeat buyer. This person's bought about 10 books from me. Investors. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense than inverters. So there's a typo in the chat. But yes, yeah, Pricer says investors. That, I mean, yeah, you raise money through investors. I guess that makes sense. I still don't see it happening. So I gotta think on this for a second. Go. We got the Yukon, Alaska directory at Dawson City, a regional history. This one, well, we got an offer for $75. It might have been a made-up price. I'm not really sure. May 4th. Listed not very long, but it's one of my repeat buyers that's been creeping the store ever since they found out what we're doing, which is fantastic. There it is. Big, thick book that just has a lot of, I mean, literally just like history, like names of people, just a directory from 100 years ago. And some kind of reprint, you know, that's not the original directory. And this is 421. Go find this, the colorful valley. To the same person. And to throw that in there. There it is. Back. All right. We'll box this guy up nice for them. It's about a $100 order. $12 by 10 by 4 with some bubble. Anymore, I'm using a lot more blanket pricing in how I do things. So back to pricing. I used to look every single item up. I used to make sure there was a 1-to-1 comp on everything. And now in my systems, the way I'm starting to do this is when an item comes in, especially in the books, is I've got different like buckets that I'm putting them in. So, and they'll actually go straight into that immediately once it comes into the shop. So I have a pile literally just sitting there that says these are $21.95. These ones are $29.95. These ones are $49.95. And then what's nice is I can price it straight up with AI, and I can just do a quick bulk listing, and every single thing I list from this pile gets that price tag. Now, I'm big enough finally in books to be able to do that. I don't do just random one-offs anymore. So I'm listing, 30 plus at a time. But I'm not quite there with shoes and boots, but that's where I want to move. You see my lovely shelf over there. Once we finally get caught up, I think that's how I'm going to do things moving forward, is immediately when it comes into the shop, it gets priced and immediately goes to where it's going to be, listed at that price. And then I don't have to recomp it every single time when it comes in. That's my strategy going forward. I think it's going to save a lot of time. Because if you played with any of the AI tools, and I know some people don't care at all about AI, I think you need to get on the board if you don't care about AI. But if you played with some of the tools, pricing is still like the one thing they're having a hard time figuring out because there's so much nuance with it. Let's get a packing slip here. But literally, I could just feed the rest of the machine, and if I've already priced things out. I've even had there's some people that I've met and heard talk that they've stopped looking up prices as much. Like, they don't care because they're moving so much stuff, so they don't comp it out. They just like, screw it. All of these are getting $9.95, and they just go for it. And so there's probably some arbitrage opportunities out there right now, and people are that lazy. I'm hoping that the price buckets will expedite things on my end. And I suppose the worst thing in the world is when you price something and it immediately sells because you priced it wrong. But sometimes it just means someone had a saved search and they've been looking exactly for that. Man, Pricers, you are into this GameStop thing. I think Pricers would be good with the acquisition. He says GameStop has over 200 locations, 2,000 locations, excuse me. That interests me. Actually, have a GameStop closer than a UPS store. I feel like that would take advantage of that also. I mean, I suppose they can make some moves, like drop your stuff off. They would lean very heavily into the collectibles market, I think, if this ends up being the case. Just because that's what GameStop has started doing. Like, GameStop is now like Pokemon and sports and that kind of stuff. It's really not about video games anymore because video games they're not even physical anymore. They're all just digital downloads. Hard to run a business off of just digital downloads. Let's see, Yukon, Alaska directory. I'm making sure all my stuff is right here because I'm going to have to add this to a second order. We're going to bump it up for them for ground advantage, I think, because it is a $100 order. And I don't mind getting that extra protection. Copy that label. And we'll add it to this other order they made. And there we go. Oh, shoot. Dude, my printer just jammed. Y'all got to, I wish I could show you this. It's like my Rolo just freaked out. See if I can get it out of there. Yeah, it like jammed up and creased my label. And I want to show that customer information, but that's weird. It like fed two labels at once. I got to reprint that. That's never happened before. All right, still running like a beast. Full. All right, we're getting close. You got a few orders still left to go here. You got the 511 tactical pants, 4, 2, and 11. 4, 2, 11. I got to go pull these from my totes. 511 Tactical is a great brand. They move fairly quickly. Guys took about a month. 30 bucks. I do believe this was a bins pickup for me. Rare to find something with tags at the bins, but they do slip through time and time again. And I don't love doing clothes, but I do love getting 30 bucks. 4, 2, 11. Look like the right thing. Haven't listed clothes in like a month, and we're still getting the sales coming through on these back in April. Being retired, a lot of time and investments are more important. Pricers. I guess if you have more time to dedicate into the news cycle and being able to follow that kind of stuff, definitely would be interesting. I don't know. I catch the headlines in the morning. I don't really dig deep into that kind of stuff. I have time in my day to do that. But it is interesting, and we'll see where it goes. I'm sure it's just the beginning of this saga of GameStop and eBay. I was at the time when you know, GameStop blew up with Wall Street Bets and all that. I was on the forefront of that. I owned GameStop at like $14 as like my fun money account. I sold it at like $20. I'm like, okay, you know, I was like, this is getting ridiculous. And then of course, you know, a few weeks later, that's when the short squeeze happened. But I was dabbling at the time, whereas I think a lot of people during the COVID years were dabbling with that type of stuff. And yeah, I guess if I had more time and interest, could have been life-changing, huh? All right, moving on. Duluth Trading. This has been listed for a little bit. These Duluth Trading Blazers can do okay. I think this was a bins pickup, and I want to say we took an offer for $27 on this one. Get this going out in a poly. All right, and I got to make sure this is the. I have like 2 or 3 of these. I got to make sure it's the right color. 2XL, like gray one. This was a bins pickup, so we're in it for less than a couple bucks, I think. Bins is pretty up here. XL black. There we go. It's the black one. It doesn't quite show great on the photos. Now, on one hand, back to pricing. Pricing too low can be annoying, but I also think in today's algorithmic world, I think pricing too high can be a real pain. And I had the pricers, someone in our chat the other day was talking about how he does the delist and relist, or delist and sell similar, I guess, to prevent that problem. But I do think that now more than ever, in our algorithmically driven world, again, this is conspiracy theory and this is anecdotal evidence. It's not like eBay says they bury your listings, but I think it's pretty obvious to most people who are selling on eBay that a lot of things will just get buried. And if you price too high, then you're just going to get buried in the new listings. And even if you start reducing price, you might have, let's say, an $80 listing that actually is supposed to sell for $30. Like, let's say that's the hypothetical. Man, this had a lot more lint than I thought it did. I'm gonna delint some of this. So I don't have a roller, but this is a little worse than what I thought it was. So I don't want to. I don't know if that was from me in storage or what. Clean that up a little bit. I mean, we do wash everything, especially if it's coming from the bins, but this must have picked up a lot of lint in my dryer. Make it look a little more presentable. All right, anyway. So let's say hypothetically, in this algorithmically driven world, you have a $80 thing you priced at $80 and it's supposed to sell for $50. Maybe you went on the high side hoping you're going to find the right person. It's really bad, isn't it? I'm actually getting worried about sending this out. Did I get this washed? I do wash everything, so everything that comes from the bins. All right. Ain't too bad. And your item sits because you priced it at $80. It's supposed to be $50. You get to a markdown sale, maybe you do 15% off or something, and so now you're sitting at, oh, what is that? $67 or so, $65, something like that. Still sits. Maybe you get to another markdown, but now you're at the right price, but you've been sitting for 6 months, and they've been sitting for the same day. I do believe that those items that are just listed, that are priced correctly at $50, when you price it high at $80, are going to sell because they're fresh in the algorithm. This is a conspiracy theory. And then I think what ends up happening is you get the markdown and the markdown and the markdown, and you might get to $30, $20, and you're still not selling, even though other people can get it for $50, because you're so buried in that algorithm. I really do think that that's a thing. I think it's a thing more in slow categories than, you know, your higher turnover categories, because you're going to be found a lot easier. But I do think that there's a danger of overpricing your items, unless you're doing the sell similar kind of stuff, and solely relying on the markdown sales. Again, this is all my own opinion. This is all just conspiracy theory. But I think that while we can be in the danger of underpricing our items, you know, people say you can always come down on price, which is true. But you can never, unless you're selling similar, you can't really ever recapture that fresh listing on eBay. And I think that there's a lot more stock we need to put into that. And eBay is looking for people to price their item correctly the first time. It's not the sit and, you know, leave it and forget it game that it might have been in the past. So I think that's worth noting, that when you're pricing things, try to price it at market or try to price it slightly below. But I think pricing it a little bit above or too far above, even if you're going to mark it down eventually, can be detrimental to people finding that item. All right, we've got 14 by 11 by 6. A little longer than I wanted to take for that guy, because that lint was a lot worse than I thought. And we do okay on shipping. Right. Already did the colorful Matanuska Valley. It was already in that combined order we did earlier. So then we got another one going out after that. A nice book. So Fickle Fox says, how about people pricing above market and running percentage off sales? I don't know. Are you saying like immediately? I'm assuming you mean immediately. So like you price it at, oh, let's say $100, make it even an easy number. It's supposed to sell for 75, but you're pricing it at 100, and then you run a 25% off sale. I'm not sure. You know, I think that I don't know from an algorithmic standpoint. Like I think from a personal standpoint, just me personally thinking about that, I'd rather just come to a store that has the right price than a store that, you know, is playing games and pricing it up, like the Kohl's strategy of the world, right? You know, have you ever stepped into a Kohl's? You see that's exactly what they do. Everything's 50% off. But it's not actually 50% off. It's just that's the price they want you to pay. So for me, I don't know. I'd rather not play that game. But I don't know if it does help in the algorithm or not, because, oh, this item's on sale, so is it bumping it up? I don't know. But for me, I think I would rather just price it at that 75 where it needs to go than to try to play a game of immediately pricing it off. I call that the Kohl's strategy, though, because, yeah, it's hilarious walking into Kohl's. I play a game when I go there with my wife. We don't go there much anymore, but I'll play a game where we say, we're gonna find something for full price. I was just about to write the Kohl's strategy. Ha, Fickle Fox agrees. We play a game called the full price game, where you go to Kohl's, try to find something for full price. Just try to find anything that they're advertising that's not on sale, because it's hilarious. Like it's like everything's on sale. It's not when everything's on sale, it's not a sale. And so, you know, I don't know if that works in the eBay world, but it's just kind of funny to me. Or you see that meme? There's a meme that floats around Black Friday where it's like, you know, you got a $100 item that says, ooh, $100, and it's on this nice shiny pedestal and nobody wants it. And then, you know, you have $200 with, you know, 50% off, and everybody's screaming to get, you know, they're all clawing to get it. So probably a valid strategy, but not, I don't know. I don't think on eBay it matters as much, personally. And speaking of my wife, I love her dearly. Her perspective on sales has really changed. My perspective on sales has changed since I started reselling. because they just don't exist. Like, if something's on sale, they just, you know, very rarely is there a real deal out there. I will say there's a store I was at the other day that I've done retail arbitrage at before that runs a sale, and they pull stuff out of the store and they put it in the front area, and they had $30 501s. I'm like, okay, that's a sale. They had Levi's 501s for $30 because on eBay, new 501s on eBay are $40-50. Wasn't quite enough meat, you know, after fees and everything for me to dive into it. But I always say if I can get it in the store for cheaper than I can get it on eBay, okay, that's a sale. All right, free shipping helps play the higher price game because locals see higher price, but further away, buyers see a fair price. Local gets it faster, willing to pay more. My thoughts. That's right, pricers. We do disagree on the free shipping game. I think it's a great strategy for a lot of items. The free shipping is good because rather than someone far away just dismissing your listing, they'll actually take it into account. Even though you're going to get less money, it will help your sales overall. I just don't personally play that game. Too much work. All right. Whew. It was a good day of sales. Good day of sales. We got media mail going out, 522. The church and farming. This might have actually been a bins pickup. I forget. I've been doing so much of this locker. I forget what's coming from estates, what's coming from my bins, what's coming from that locker. But we got $45, or no, sorry, $45 on an offer. And definitely didn't pay more than $5. I usually don't pay more than $5 for a hardback unless it's somebody I know with special stuff. All right. Well, friends, we have reached that time. Thank you for stopping in. This is what we do on this channel. We do it Monday through Thursday. We just pack a lot of orders. We talk about something in the reselling world. I'll talk with the chat, with whatever chat wants to do. If you find any value out of this, please just take a second, click that subscribe button. You just got to scroll down just a little bit. It's that little oval button that says subscribe. That'll push this content for you in your feed so you can find me again, find more of it. And also you'll find more content of the same, and it helps me out so more people can discover the channel. And also the like button will also help that too. We are going to be back tomorrow. I don't think that there is an estate. Sometimes if I ever have to cancel a morning session, what I'll do is I'll just still publish a video and it'll just say canceled. And so it'll still be published there, or not published a video. It'll be like on the live, it'll just show that this is canceled because there's no way I can actually get that information out to people without actually scheduling a live. So I'm going to just go ahead and if an estate pops up on Thursdays, which it sometimes does, then I will cancel this because it's more important for me to be out there getting the inventory. But I promise every time I'm free on these Mondays through Thursday, I'll be here 8 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, 10 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock on the West Coast. And I got to ask Monique, I got to know what time it is on Australia because we have our Australia viewer. And I think we also have some people from the UK. I've been looking at the analytics. It's been interesting seeing who's all chiming in. So thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. It's great I enjoy this time to be able to share this with you, and it is helpful for some people. So shout out to Fickle Fox, shout out to Pricers, shout out to, Kent, shout out to Les T, all the people that were joining us today in the chat. It is great to have you here. I really do enjoy the back and forth. It makes it fun for me. So we'll see you next time, and I hope